So I hope you enjoyed the video. It's a very brief video of Blue Ink and the magazines that fall under them. Now, based on what you know about magazines, what are some of the defining features that you can think of? Okay, remember when we said earlier that magazines used to have a broad appeal, but now they're very specialized. So now it means that most of the time magazines attract a very special group of audience. Okay, they reach specific demographics that are sometimes even split into occupation, interest, political, and even geographic groups. Okay, so you can have magazines for the young, you can have magazines for teen girls, for working women, for working mothers. You can have magazines for men, and even magazines for men are split. You can have magazines on videos, on tech, on biking, on hiking, on cars, motorbikes, superbikes, that sort of thing. You can have magazines that are politically based with an agenda. You can have them split according to geographical groups. Okay, so magazines have a very specialized audience. They're also in tune with trends. Now, most of the time, magazines move very quickly to follow consumer business needs. So, what this means is if you're familiar with the industry, magazines are produced way in advance. So, for example, if I'm preparing right now, we are in March. So, that would mean that I would be preparing for July's issue. I wouldn't be preparing for April's issue. In fact, most magazines start preparing for the Christmas edition way in advance. So remember earlier when I went to the website and I showed you the rate, the media rates for um, female, and then if you looked at the monthly breakdown. Okay, every magazine, let's quickly go through this. Every magazine has what is known as an editorial calendar for the year already. Okay, so this is for 2019 because they have not updated the 2020 editorial calendar. But it basically means that in 2020 they would have figured out what they wanted to put in. And if you notice, most of the magazines would have this in place. So let's try Women's Weekly. Let's open the red card. This is Women's Weekly Media Kit for 2020. Okay, so pretty much the same thing. What you're looking at, what are some of the brands that are exclusive to Women's Weekly? Okay, notice that they've got some features, the advertising rates, desktop, they've got the editor-in-chief names. Okay, if you look carefully, these parts are the sections. Okay, now what this means is basically a magazine is very predictable. So think of the movie The Devil Wears Prada. Basically, that's what it means. Magazines are big on trends. Okay, big on coming up with new trends or um, predicting trends that follow needs and consumers basically. They're also influential. Magazines have been known to determine and influence things like the women's movement, sexual rights, birth control, the integration between the racial classes in the States. So magazines have a very large influence. One of the very good examples of magazine being influential is to look at Time magazine. Time has been very well known for being very influential. They have things like every year they will publish a list of the 100 most influential people. So let's take a look and see. All right. So this list changes every year, and every year people go in to look at who's who on the list. And it's a big thing to be featured there. Why? Because Time is highly influential. Even though most young people today don't really follow Time, but for the most part, it is great to be featured on something this big. Another very influential magazine would be National Geographic. Okay. If you're a photographer, if you're a nature lover, the dream, the ultimate bucket list number one would be to get yourself published here. because this is the thing to aim for. So if you look here, they've got your magazines, and National Geographic has changed into a channel and whatnot, but their roots started off in the magazine business. All right, so when we talk about magazines being influential, this is what we mean. Now, we'll take a break and I will move on to how magazines are slowly adjusting to the digital age. They're faring a little bit better from the newspapers, but let's see how it goes anyway.